folks, welcome to TYT. It is Thanksgiving Eve, and on the show we have Brett Erlich and Aida Rodriguez.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Oh, I can't tell you how much I can feel from everyone in the office how much they want to go home.
Everyone is so desperate to go home, and I don't blame them.
Or at least like eat the turkey. Eat the turkey.
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
feeling it.
I'm taking everybody with me when I leave tonight. So if anybody got a problem with it, they need to call me.
I definitely would not have a problem with it, like in terms of like you taking me.
And I don't think anyone would stop you. Everyone would be like, oh, she seems serious.
Yeah. No, I don't want to mess with Aida. I'm gonna go.
No, I love y'all. I think you guys should be seasoning your turkey for tomorrow.
Okay,
nice.
so we're gonna have an awesome show. Lots of really great stories to get to. Later on, we're gonna talk about the disproportionate number of African American girls and women who are missing, and what the media and the local police departments throughout the country are doing about it, which is very little. That story is insane. We're also gonna discuss Pete Buttigieg defending himself against accusations of saying things that aren't accurate about the Black community. Okay, so that was a big story this week, and we're gonna discuss that. And so yeah, it's gonna be great.
Can I just say thank you though? Because you guys, Ben Crump and I talked about it. You guys covered Trayvon when nobody would, and you are doing this and nobody is, and it is really, really a big problem. So
yeah.
I just want to say thank you for doing the story.
Thank you for bringing it to my attention. It is an important story. We're gonna get to that a little later. But first, let's start off with Emma Vigeland's reporting from the Trump rally.
I have some information though, a little more business before we start.
Playing the role of Cenk today is Anna Kasparian. Yes, I did speak about myself in the third person. That's super lame, but go ahead.
Make money instead of spending money this holiday season. With Dough, you can be an owner, not just a consumer, with no fees for individual trades on stocks. All you gotta do is tell them what you're interested in. It can be things like fashion, music, cannabis, TYT, and then they'll help you uncover your investment potential. Go to dough.com/TYT to download it today. It is awesome. Be in the know with Dough. Let's go.
Oh, look at you with the little poem at the end.
Seemed like you were handling some kind of production thing over there, so I was like, I'll just do, and then I'll ruin it afterwards by calling it out.
All right, so let's get to the news. Emma Vigeland attended the Trump rally in Sunrise, Florida, and talked to some of the Trump supporters about their views on the impeachment investigation. Now, anyone paying close attention to it, or anyone paying any attention to it, knows that there's been an abundance of damning testimony against Donald Trump. There's been evidence of quid pro quo. There's been evidence that he did freeze the military aid to Ukraine in an effort to get the Ukrainian president to publicly announce an investigation into Biden to hurt his chances in the presidential election. Trump is a bad guy, it's very obvious. But what do Trump supporters think about it all? Let's take a look.
He is rooting out corruption by making himself seem corrupt, but he's not actually corrupt.
Well, so you're saying it's kind of a three-dimensional chess situation where he's playing the Democrats by them moving forward with impeachment?
Exactly, and they took the bait.
How so?
They're investigating him and they're just finding corrupt Democrats, not Republicans.
Who?
I don't want to comment on that because, like I said, I'm not fully informed on everything that's been going on in the proceedings, but the Bidens are definitely coming under some heat for this.
But why? Why? Like sometimes I just want to cry, like from just utter frustration. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really paying attention to what's happening. I'm not really informed, but yeah, look, Emma needs to realize, like, you lost him the second you said three-dimensional chess. He's like, I don't know what that is. I'm just gonna keep pretending as if Trump is like some genius who's making himself look like he's corrupt in an effort to catch corrupt Democrats. I'm losing my mind.
I just, every time this happens, am more and more like taken aback by how good Emma is at this stuff.
Yeah,
she's so calm.
She keeps a straight face.
There's like,
I'm proud of her.
because you never know what the response is gonna even remotely be. And then there's the moment where she goes, well, so, okay, where to start with this one? You know, like, and when you notice this guy here, he says things like he wants to sound super smart. but his overall approach to everything is flies so hard in the face of the facts that he still wants to use like the trappings of a smart person by saying things like, I don't want to comment on that as I'm not informed about all the goings on of the investigation.
You're not informed about any of it.
Yeah,
0%.
It's so rough. And that's just one of the many approaches people take when they answer questions from Emma.
And yet one more thing to make Florida look awesome. Here we go again. You know, I just think at this point that it's a waste of time to have conversations with people who are ill-informed. These are not constituents. These are cult members and fans. This is celebrity worship. If you pay attention to these people, I've had conversations with people who support Trump that actually have some information and talk about things that, even though I may disagree with them, is not something that they just pulled out of their derriere, right?
And so what? Yeah, go ahead.
But then you see these people and you're like, you're having a conversation with, you know, I don't know. They love to do this to, you know, I think I enjoy it because they like doing this to black and brown people. Remember that ain't nobody got time for that lady went viral. They put the microphone in front of the most ignorant black and brown people when things happen in the communities so they can get sound bites. And then it's like everybody's laughing at these people. So now we're laughing at the white people, right? But it's the equivalent. It's a lack of education, a lack of information. And it is a waste of time to have conversations.
No, you know, it's funny. Like I'm not laughing at them. Like, I'm devastated by this because this is the breakdown. This is how democracy breaks down, right? Yeah. Because in order to have a functioning democracy, you need an informed electorate.
Yeah.
And they just outright reject. That's the thing. Trump has taken what was and continues to be a very serious problem, fake news. But the fake news helped him, it didn't hurt him, right? He has taken that, and this is, I guess, a testament to his marketing skills. He has used the notion of fake news to his advantage to prime his supporters to think anything that's reported against him is fake. You shouldn't believe it. So they just outright reject every piece of evidence. And how do you, you're right. I mean, you can't debate them. You can't have an argument with them. You can't persuade them, which is why I get frustrated with Cenk when he addresses the MAGA guys on the show. Don't address the MAGA guys. The MAGA guys are a lost cause. We need to, you know, keep moving forward with the facts, with the evidence, the information, and hopefully it will sway, you know, people in the middle, maybe the moderate Republicans, if they even exist anymore. Like,
that's what I tweeted, Cenk, and I said, how dare you even dignify this with a response? Like, don't you do that. You can't out-talk them, you can't out-debate them, but you can outvote them. And that's where we need to focus our strengths, is like, not just with Donald Trump, but our local government. Anybody who has an ounce of this thinking, vote them out, because it's a cancer. And the dumbing down of America is real, and this is evidence of it. I mean, I don't want to pounce on these people because these people really believe what they're saying. They really believe. Somebody told them all that ignorant stuff that you believe is true. They're coming for your plate.
But like, if you went to a Bernie rally and you interviewed a number of people,
I know,
would they be equally ridiculous on the other side? I just don't think so.
There are some people on the other side who are ill-informed and are just worshiping their favorite celebrity. That is what America has come to. And that's not a partisan thing. That just happens to be cancer over there. There are a lot of people who are like, Yang, you know how many Yang bumper stickers I've seen as of late? And it's this is our guy. And then when you have a conversation with those people and you're like, why is this your guy? Well, because he's gonna give everybody $1,000. But then,
yeah, there was an event that Ramesh Srinivasan came out with a book, and you guys should all check it out. It's called Beyond the Valley, and he talks about not only the negative impacts of Silicon Valley, but he talks about what rural communities throughout the world are doing with technology that's really inspiring. Anyway, the majority of people there looked like they were Bernie supporters, but there was one person who had just come from a Yang rally, and they wanted to provoke, right? And so he raises his hand. He's like, I just came from a Yang rally and I just want to know what's your problem with him and what's your problem with UBI? And I was like, I actually don't have a problem with UBI. But the issue is throwing $1,000 at a giant systemic problem is not gonna solve the problem, right? And so I calmly answered his question, and it looked like, to his credit, it looked like he got it. You know, and I really respect that, because we might have some differences, but I wouldn't say that like on the left you have these Trump type supporters who are like almost cultish with their support. So there might be differences, but what I like is that you're willing to have a conversation about it.
It's a conversation. And for this, with like Emma's videos and everyone, it's youtube.com/rebelhq, facebook.com/rebelhq. When it's the curiosity that I have. I don't know if anyone really has like the curiosity of an unknown element of what a Bernie supporter's thinking, of what a Warren supporter's thinking. Like I guess there's some other candidates who I might be asking like, what are you thinking? But with Trump, it's just this crazy collection, this eclectic, strange collection of people. And it doesn't seem like the priority really is change in the world or policy based in the world. It's more that it's a feeling.
Yeah, it's such a good point.
I wasn't, I'm not saying that, I'm not speaking specifically about Bernie. I'm talking about on the left, because there's a lot of fanaticism, right? But to support Bernie and to support AOC, you have to operate from a certain level of thinking, because it requires empathy, information. You're not afraid of the word socialism because you know what it really means. You see these people holding up these signs talking about how much socialism is bad, and they don't. You want your postman not to have a job? Like they don't
Look, this is Florida. I have a lot of experience with people in Florida because of who I'm married to. My husband is from Florida. So there's a lot of there are a lot of Republican Cubans who are cashing their Medicare checks, you know, and their Social Security, and they're like, I hate socialism, I escaped socialism in Cuba. No, we have socialism in America too, and it drives me nuts. We gotta go to the next video though, I'm sorry. So Emma did talk to others about this, and so let's hear what another Trump supporter has to say about the impeachment investigation.
They have nothing to go on. Bottom line, you know, Trump is our president. He has been for 3 years. He's going to remain our president. They just don't have anything to go on except hate. Bottom line.
Well, what about Ambassador Sondland, who was Trump's appointee, saying that it was a quid pro quo, aka an impeachable offense?
Bunch of bull. All of this stuff is just a bunch of bull to take him out of office. That's all the Democrats want, is to take Trump out of office. They don't have a platform to run on except hate, and that's the bottom line.
But what about Sondland? He donated $1 million to Trump.
I don't care about that, okay? They're a waste of my time.
Do you guys believe when Ambassador Sondland, who he donated around $1 million to Trump, now he's saying that there was a quid pro quo?
I don't believe him. You know, you look at their eyes, you watch their body language when they talk, and to me, they lie, they take a sip of water. Otherwise, they sit there, they look at each other. If somebody with new body language could watch them, you would see they're lying, lie. But Trump comes out, look you right in the eye.
I mean, what's more terrifying about Trump is that he does look you right in the eye. And if you told these people, like, don't politicians look you right in the eye and lie to you? They would say yes. They would say absolutely yes. That's the swamp, drain the swamp. They look you right in the eye and lie to you. But their like bit of evidence as to why you can trust Trump is that he looks you in the eye.
I mean, look, I heard that when you're like riled up on stimulants like Sudafed that you can't get in the United States, it gives you like this false sense of confidence, and you can look anyone in the eye and lie about anything. I'm just putting that out there. Check out his taco bowl picture and the drawer that's open behind him. There's like multiple giant boxes of Sudafed that you can't get in the United States.
Wow.
People take those when they do lie detector tests, and that way they can lie comfortably. I mean, I'm just disappointed that someone who drinks alkaline water thinks like like that. That first guy.
Was he
the
drinking
first
alcohol?
one? Yeah. So I'm like, how is this possible?
That brand
I would be upset. I would send a cease and desist letter to that man and say,
you know what? He might not be educated on politics, okay, but he is educated on lead in the water, right?
He was drinking.
But like that guy said that the Democrats have nothing to go on. They just want Trump out of office. Then Emma hit him back with a fact, which is something to go on.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want it. Why? Because he just wants Trump in office. So his logic behind his argument is, yeah, if you give me some kind of fact to go on, we can have a discussion. But she gives him a fact to go on and he utterly rejects it.
Yep.
That proves that they just want, and the other point is like the coalition of the Democrats versus the coalition of the Republicans. The Republicans are full of people like this, fine. And then the people that you said that you talked to and the people I talked to who are like, my answer is I just want my tax cut and I'm fine and my 401k and my stock portfolio that half the country does not have the luxury of participating in this game called the stock market.
Oh man, it's those people and then the people who feed off of them and they have no idea and they will fight for Trump even if their America never changes an ounce to better their lives as long as it feeds the hate in their heart.
And
that's all I can believe.
And on the left, you have folks who are in the establishment who similarly are like, I have my stock portfolio, all of that.
Right.
And the liability in the coalition, in their eyes, is the folks that want to improve other people's lives.
Right, that's such a great way of putting it, absolutely. I mean, someone like Nancy Pelosi, and we talked about this off camera, and I think it's a really good point that I brought up and I wanna share it with you guys, is like, why is it that Nancy Pelosi isn't as aggressive in fighting back against Trump, right? And it's because Nancy Pelosi isn't in the same situation as the vast majority of Americans, right? Like, she doesn't have as much to lose under a Trump presidency. We have a lot to lose because we have so little to begin with. So, I mean, her stock portfolio is doing well, you know?
Yeah, and there's also like the how to stay in power thing, and in terms of how she understands her coalition to be, she doesn't have that she isn't making the leap of faith of like, what if we actually go full bore on progressive policies?
Right.
Because in her mind, and she also lives in this world where you gotta raise money and you have to raise it from whoever, and why would I shut it off?
And she also gets to be better than bad. So as long as Donald Trump is the bad guy, the villain, she gets to be the hero, because in the real world, in the realm of honor and politicians who actually who care about us, she's the bad guy. Yeah. So give her something to fight against. I mean, would we be talking about Nancy Pelosi this much had Donald Trump not been around? She's an establishment person.
Yeah. We gotta go to the next story, but before we do so, I want to read a few member comments. This is from Dan. The Trump supporter videos are incredible. Trump is a cult. These people are acting like cult members. No common sense, no sense of reality or facts. What can be done? Clearly, education is a large part of this, as it's quite clear these people are not the smartest smarty in the role. So I agree with you. I think that education's been dismantled and it's been happening for decades now. And this is what the consequence is, right? There's absolutely no way of dealing with, legitimate versus illegitimate media because there's no education on media literacy. Like, people don't know what is and isn't credible. And so, yeah, I think that the situation was perfect. Like, the American electorate was vulnerable to the situation that we're in now, and it makes me upset. Megan says, I'm with Anna, I'm not laughing. It's really not funny, it is damn scary. I do laugh, it's to cover up frustration. I totally agree. Sometimes you feel like you have no choice but to laugh or make light of it because every day would be unbearable to go through if this is the stuff that you have to talk about.
It was figurative language, guys. That wasn't But listen, this is what I was gonna say though when we talk about education, because they come for education, right? So now they've demonized being intelligent. That's all part. You're an intellectual elitist, right? So and you're smug. So that's the whole part of the play is, in addition to you're not educated, it's cool to not be educated because the people who are part of the problem.
All right, so we gotta go take a break, but when we come back, we have more from Emma, including a man threatening civil war.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
We hope you're enjoying this free clip from the Young Turks. If you want to get the whole show and more exclusive content while supporting independent media, become a member at tyt.com/join today. In the meantime, enjoy this free segment.
Welcome back to TYT. Anna, Brett, and Ida with you. I wanted to read one quick TYT live, and it was from an unfortunate soul living in Kentucky, surrounded by Trump supporters.
And Papa John.
So Cassie wants to know, as a progressive living in Kentucky, I'm in a sea of Trump supporters. How would you go about dealing with Trump voters who are not informed? I need answers before Thanksgiving. So if you're caught in a situation where you're like, you're captive, right? And you're having a family dinner, you just can't get into the debate, right? Don't let them provoke you. They'll probably try, but the best way to handle it, and it's hard, is to just say, it's a really interesting perspective, and then offer nothing in terms of a rebuttal. Just don't. Why? It's useless.
That's right.
That's how I handle it. And I don't really have Trump supporters in my family, but there are Trump supporters in my husband's family. And believe me, there are provocations. There's one person, okay? So to be fair, most of his family's lovely, but like those provocations happen, and it's the one time where I gave in, it did not end well. So just don't do it. Don't have that debate.
Wait, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, consider the source. Like at this point, when people support that vehemently like that, it's a great indicator of who they are as a person.
Yeah.
So there's no point in trying to have a conversation with that rhetoric or that type of thinking, because that lets you know who they are.
And smoke weed.
Smoke weed every day. Okay.
Then everything feels great.
I have a
Nothing bothers you.
completely different solution.
Don't get it
go
from
ahead.
China.
This solution is, why don't you just buy them some TYT merch? It's our 8 of the 10 days of Black Friday sale, damn it.
Da-da-da-da.
And guess what's back? The holiday sweaters. It's amazing. They brought them out of the vault. You don't need Disney Plus for this vault. Get your exclusive ho home of progressives and TYT holiday sweater now at TYT. Shop TYT.com. Order now and get it in time for Christmas. And while you're at it, you can further support us by using your aspiration card with your shop purchase. If you don't have one yet, you can sign up at aspiration.com/TYT. I have one of those sweaters. It is amazing, and
the one with Cenk's face on it.
With the Cenk's face on it. And I got an extra large one, which is perfect. You just get down in there, and it's fantastic, and it's fuzzy on the inside.
It is very fuzzy on the inside, which makes up for the fact that Cenk's face is on the sweater. Let's be real. Okay,
there we go.
Let's move on. So, Emma Vigeland attended the Trump rally in Florida, and during the rally, an all too common theme came up. Supporters who are threatening violence if anything happens to Donald Trump. Take a look.
We will not let somebody take down our Constitution. I swore an oath back in 1973 to defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And if it comes to domestic, that's what I do. If the UN comes in here, there are foreign invaders in our country, and I will do what I got to do to stand up for them.
And you called yourself a militia, does that mean with guns?
If that's what it takes. A militia is, look at the farmers back in the day. They didn't have guns. They used pitchforks and whatever they had available to them. Today, everybody's got guns. What's going to happen is, if the thing starts here and we have a civil war, people are going to have to pick what side they're on. Me, I want our country to stay the way it is. I want it to be free. I want my children to grow up in a free country. I want them to be able to think for themselves and not be force-fed the information they put in schools. I don't want them on their knees waving Allah. I mean, we're America. This is what we got to fight for. And if that's what it comes down to.
So he is not an isolated case. We've done stories featuring right-wing members of the media, including people like Ben Shapiro, for instance, pushing this notion that if you try to take our guns away, we're gonna meet law enforcement at the door with our guns. There are threats of civil war. I mean, all this nonsense coming from the right. And there are members, like militia people, who are training in like the forest. That you were talking about that off camera, Ida. And it's true, like they really think no, if anything happens to Trump, if he actually does get impeached and removed, we're gonna fight back, which is terrifying. But what's also terrifying is if he actually does lose his re-election, then they're gonna think that the system's rigged. I mean, he primes them with that nonsense and that misinformation. And who knows if they actually will carry out this violence, but it is terrifying because some of them are unhinged.
But you know what's funny is like the argument with people with the guns when they're like, you can't take my guns, and they'll have like 3 guns in the house, the military and the law enforcement. You honestly think you're gonna win the fight? Did you see in Dallas when they had that robot thing come out and we were like, what the heck is that? Do you honestly think that your little guns that you have at home with your crew can take out a military that is trained to fight countries? So when I see these people talking about this, what are you gonna do, go fight civilians who have no power in affecting what's happening to you? Or are you going up against the government because you think they're trying to take away your rights? That's the thinking that I don't understand, and we just can't give them, we can't feed the flame with them because that's the foolishness that continues to feed the fear, and then we're walking around like this, and that is what runs the country when we let them do that.
And you're right, we played the mashup that Jordan Newell made of right-wing figures talking about a civil war. And the question I have is, where does that idea come from? And does it come from the original militia that started voicing that while watching Ben Shapiro, while watching whoever the other people's names are, and then said that in the comment section, and then Ben is looking for other things to say to cater to the audience and kind of build that support because he's financially dependent on it, and he starts feeding into it. And then people who hadn't come from that militia and written that in the comment section see it from Ben Shapiro, and then Ben Shapiro starts inciting other people to behave this way. And what you heard was a radicalized person. That's a radicalized.
Absolutely.
He's radicalized.
Right.
He is ready to take arms against a sea of nothing. Because what is America? He's like, I want to keep America the way it is. I don't want them to end up bowing and praying to Allah. Well, America right now, they don't have to do that. You're making that up. That's not how America is. America now is people who want to pray to Allah, pray to Allah. People who want to pray to our fun Jewish God, do that too. And they're pretty upset because Hanukkah's during Christmas this year, and it's weird.
And Allah is just another word for God.
Yeah.
So when they're praying,
I know, but like
same people in the books. It's the same characters.
So this is a vicious cycle of the media fear-mongering, right? Like the media, right-wing media specifically, has been fear-mongering about Muslims in this country for a while now. And so this guy is at home, right? Like terrified of the Muslims forcing him to practice Sharia law, even though there's no indication that that's happening in any part of this country. But what's also really interesting is we do have theocracy ruling parts of this country right now as we speak. You have various states passing incredibly restrictive abortion laws. And so abortion is supposed to be legal up to some point, but you have heartbeat laws, you have all these nonsense laws that essentially outright ban abortion in the states, goes against the Supreme Court ruling, of course. But what do they always cite in doing that? They cite their religion in a country that's supposed to be for a separation of church and state, which is in what? Where's that cited? In our Constitution, the same Constitution that this guy says he's willing to kill people to protect. If you care about, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if you care about the Constitution, you should acknowledge the fact that the president that you're so enamored with is taking a giant dump on it on a daily basis, period. But that's again, we're having a conversation with people who don't care about the evidence and the facts. So why get riled up?
And also, why make the assumption that they see women as equals? Because that kind of thinking probably doesn't. They want to identify with the original people who created the Constitution, which were white men, straight white men, and women are, property. That we always like to criticize the Middle East and their practices when it comes to women or these religions, but we treat our women kind of.
I mean, all we do here is grab them by the pussy without even asking, right? That's all we do here.
Yeah.
Direct quote from the President of the United States of America.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was just saying like and the founders were kind of British people. They were still technically British. So when they said freedom of speech, they're like, you can say whatever you want, but you probably wouldn't. Yeah, you probably wouldn't. You'd probably have some decency about it. Anyhow.
All right, okay, so let's move on to the next story. We do have a bit of an impeachment update. So earlier this week, we found out that Mick Mulvaney had to find a legal justification for Trump freezing military aid to Ukraine after the fact. So Trump does the freeze, Mulvaney realizes, there might be a whistleblower complaint. We need to find some sort of legal justification. And then he goes to the Office of Management and Budget in an effort to come up with a legal justification. Now we're learning, based on testimony that happened in a closed door hearing, that there were 2 officials within the OMB who resigned as a result of what was going on behind the scenes. And I want to be very clear about something. Donald Trump basically lifted the freeze on that military aid after, let me repeat, after he found out that there was gonna be a formal whistleblower complaint filed against him, okay? So I just wanna make sure everyone is on the same page when it comes to that timeline. Now with that said, let me give you some more information about this testimony. So Mark Sandy, who is a career official with the OMB, revealed, he testified in the impeachment inquiry but did not name the employees in question. So he said one worked in the OMB legal division and described that person as having, quote, a dissenting opinion about how the security assistance to Ukraine could be held up in light of the Impeachment Control Act, which limits the ability of the executive branch to change spending decisions made by Congress. Remember, Congress, in a bipartisan vote, voted to provide Ukraine with this military funding, okay? More than $400 million. And so the president can't just unilaterally decide what to do with that money. If it's appropriated by Congress, it needs to go to the appropriate place. And Trump put a freeze to it because he wanted to dig up dirt on his political rival, because he can't win based on his ideas because he's a failure and a loser. Go ahead, Brett.
So yeah, and the pattern is he kept finding ways to ratchet up pressure. And a very important date is April 25th. April 25th is when Joe Biden said that he wanted to get into the race. And he announced that I think it was April 25th, wanted to get into the race. And after that, magically, we're interested in corruption at Burisma. This whole process of aid, President Trump has been president for multiple years, 3 years. This process has happened multiple times. Ukraine has been developing in the way that it's fighting corruption. Only this time, and only after Biden is in the race, do we suddenly start talking about Burisma. And specifically, you've got this guy Sandy, who you just saw, and this other guy Duffy, who is the political appointee. So you've got some guy whose job it is to be the guy in the bureau who's like, all right, we know rules, we apply rules, we do all this stuff. Then you got this guy Duffy, who Trump's like, Duffy's my guy. Sandy says there's rules about what you can do with military aid. And he literally basically just says, I'm gonna check the rules. Duffy shows up and goes, I'll take it from here.
Right, yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah, so this Duffy guy, again, is a Trump appointee, and he helps Trump carry out these illegal acts. So a quote from Mark Sandy, he said during the impeachment testimony, again, this was in the closed door hearing, it's being made public now. I just made a general reference to the Impeachment Control Act and said that we would have to assess that with the evidence of counsel before proceeding. Now, according to the Washington Post, ultimately, political appointee Mike Duffy took over the process of signing off on the documents that held up the Ukraine money. Sandy told impeachment investigators that until that time, Duffy had voiced no interest in the process of approving apportionments. So Sandy said that the other official, remember there were two who resigned, the other official who resigned in September expressed some frustrations about not understanding the reason for the hold. So while Trump and all his lackeys claim that they were holding up that money in an effort to root out corruption, just understand that that is complete and utter BS. That is not true at all. In fact, in getting rid of Marie Yovanovitch, who was the US ambassador to Ukraine at the time, they were actually doing something incredibly counterproductive in rooting out corruption in Ukraine, because she was actually working to fight corruption in Ukraine.
You know what, and what I will say to this is that a lot of the things that you've been hearing from the other side when we are talking about this impeachment hearings is that they point out the corruption of Biden and his son. And what you don't realize, some of you, is that most of us that are over here, we want all of the corruption out. But that does not undo the president's corruption, and we need to deal with it from the top coming down. But if we had our druthers, they would all be out of there, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, because the point is to get all of these negotiable, corrupt people out of our government so that we can have a better country and a better quality of life.
Totally.
So when don't hit me with the whataboutisms, because that too should go. That's the point of this.
And maybe that's how you handle it on Thanksgiving when you're sitting around the dinner table, is like, no, I'm for all the corruption. Let's list it, let's get rid of it.
It is incredible because Republican voters are still doing this like partisan game, thinking that everyone on the left thinks that way, that we're very cultish about our political party. No, we're not. There's nothing more empowering than being honest about the wrongdoing in your own party, right? So they bring up Biden and the fact that Hunter Biden was working on that Ukrainian gas board, right? Gas company board. Yeah, that was a problem. That was a problem. That doesn't change the fact that what Trump did, based on our Constitution, right, was wrong. It was illegal, and he should be removed from office as a result. Now, whether he'll be removed from office is, I mean, it's unlikely because of the fact that he has so many lackeys in the Senate. But it's unbelievable how, again, he could just take our Constitution, just crumple it up in front of us every single day, right? Whether it's the emoluments clause or what's happening right now with Ukraine. And his supporters will still claim time and time again that they love him because he protects the Constitution. They consider themselves constitutionalists.
And another talking point is how unfair this process is. Oh, it's so unfair. You see, even in that moment where Senator Kennedy of Louisiana was like, I was wrong about this thing that I talked about on Fox News. He's still saying like, I don't know, it's very frustrating because he's like, we're not allowed to give our side of the story is essentially it.
Yeah.
But all the people on that side have received subpoenas. And that subpoena's sole purpose is to get you to come into those open door hearings, give your side of the story, and actually provide that evidence that you say exists.
Yeah.
But what happened? We talked about Sandy, we talked about Duffy. Sandy answered the subpoena. The guy just like there going like, what are the rules? Let me follow them. You might hate the bureaucracy, but just the guy's like, let me follow the rules. He shows up and is like, yeah, I'll talk. Duffy, the political appointee, we don't have a picture of him from Getty Images. You know why? Because he defied the subpoena.
Yep.
And so did Mick Mulvaney, so is John Bolton, so is Don McGahn. All these people that they're crying don't get a chance to tell their evidence to the official record, they could do it. Even Donald Trump got an invite. Nadler just said, come on, buddy. And Trump's not gonna answer that.
Well, I mean, first of all, a guilty mind needs no accusing. And secondly, these people actually believe that their corruption is their right. And that's what we're struggling with. We're not struggling with whether they think they're corrupt. We're struggling with the fact that they are feeling like, how dare you challenge my privilege and my ability to continue to do whatever I've been doing at the expense of you and question me for doing it. And they're not tripping on being corrupt.
Right.
They are appalled at our audacity to question it.
Corruption is like standard operating procedure for politicians, especially on the right, who have gotten away with things because you didn't have a Democratic Party that was willing to fight back. Now they're fighting back a little bit because one of their establishment types was targeted in this disgusting act that Trump is clearly guilty of, but they're not going after his financial crimes. They're not going after the fact that his own personal lawyer, under oath, said that Trump has committed fraud in an effort to obtain loans and then committed fraud in an effort to skirt taxes. They're not investigating that, right? Who cares about that? Anyway.
Because then they're next. If we get rid of them and get them out of there, then who's next?
Right.
Right? Because that's what we're coming for.
So Brett, I hear that there's exciting stuff happening.
A couple little bits of information. First of all, we're not gonna have live streams on Thursday and Friday, so know that. But we still will be putting out 2 hours of fresh content, kind of a best of look back. One where we thank you, and the other where we look at our top performing videos from the year. That will be on youtube.com/the Young Turks. However, for members, we have made Hank Thompson spent a very long time editing this it's over an hour long thank you video to you, the viewers. It's our Thanksgiving special. TYT hosts and staff share what they're thankful for. If you want to see it, it drops tomorrow. It's tyt.com/join. Do that for that holiday special and more. And if you sign up now, we do have Hostmates coming back, so you'll be able to see that too when it comes out.
Also, shout out to Matt for making the graphics.
I don't know about Matt. I don't know if I'm gonna give him a shout out.
Okay.
He's always so good and efficient. I don't trust it. Just kidding. Matt's great. Matt's fantastic.
Matt really is great. Man, look at this guy.
I hope he's in the control room right now. But one more thing, if you want to find that Thanksgiving Day special, go to our website under special coverage. And that's all you need to know, literally in the world.
All right, well, let's take a break. And when we come back, we have more for you, including Buttigieg defending himself against accusations of racism. Coming back.